Good evening and welcome to our Cougar Talks program. At this time, we ask that you silence your cell phone. Tonight's program will run for approximately 1 hour. We kindly ask that you stay for the duration of the program. If you do need to leave, we ask that you do so between presentations and exit through the side doors at the rear of the auditorium. At this time, to introduce you to our leadership program, please welcome from our Leadership 1 class, Morgan Bronfeld and Kayla Indich.
Good evening. My name is Morgan Bronfeld, and I'm here this evening to introduce you to the Leadership 1 course. One of the aspects of leadership we have been focusing on this year is teamwork. All the Leadership 1 students went on a field trip to the Brookville Outdoor and Environmental Education Center in October. This trip was an excellent way for us to start building relationships with other program members. While there, we completed a series of activities and challenges that emphasized cooperation and team building. These challenges included climbing walls, completing ropes courses, and more. One challenge entailed us of all working together to get the entire group to balance on a platform simultaneously. Another challenge, called the catwalk, involved walking across hanging planks, moving from one to the next until each team member reached the end. These tasks were challenging and emphasized team building, as we needed the support and assistance of our teammates to help push us across wires, tell us where to step on the boards, and even just cheer us on. We look forward to future field trips and events as we strengthen our leadership skills and become better leaders. Here to tell you more about the Leadership 1 course is my teammate, Kayla Indich.
Leadership 1 is the introductory course to the 3-year School and Community Leadership Program. We focus on 4 primary areas of study: personal growth, goal setting, team building, and decision making. In this introductory course, my classmates and I researched the characteristics needed to be a successful leader. Our research and evaluations culminated in the creation of one-pagers and Build-A-Leader projects. We completed team-building activities like building towers of spaghetti and marshmallows, and team-building tasks like decorating doors for the Doors for a Cause activity at Kennedy. Every student in the Leadership 1 program was required to lead a how-to project, requiring us to a personal skill, developing a class activity to present the skill, and then leading our classmates in teaching it. The project allowed us to develop many essential skills that we will hone throughout this program: public speaking, organization, time management, and group cooperation. Here to talk about the Leadership 2 courses are Sarah Lieberman and Zach Greenside.
Hello, my name is Zach Greenside, and I'm a student in Leadership 2. My classmate Sarah Lieberman and I are here today to discuss the Leadership 2 course. This year, we spent much of the first quarter working with the Leadership 3 students, preparing for our academic field day. This year's academic field day was a school-wide event on Election Day, during which students in Leadership 3 organized workshops and activities on various topics that fit our Day of Belonging theme. The program included presentations by outside speakers from Long Island Progressive Coalition, the Society for Prevention of Teen Suicide, and the New York Civil Liberties Union. Other guest speakers included Kennedy alum Steph Hammerman, the first adaptive athlete signed by Nike, and social media influencer Carly Weinstein, who spoke about body positivity. The students in Leadership 2 organized and ran their workshops, including ones to bring awareness to mental health issues and the challenges faced by students with disabilities. The workshops run by students in the class focus on belonging. We led activities to help students find connections with their peers and bring awarenesses to the traits that connect us rather than those that highlight our differences. Sarah will tell you about some of the classroom activities that we do in Leadership 2.
Hi, I'm Sarah Lieberman, and the students in Leadership 2 spent the early part of the school year examining civility and respect to resolve conflict. We were paired in groups and tasked with researching a historical event resolved with civility. After researching the event, we created presentations on the way event and how it was resolved peacefully. In addition, every student in Leadership 2 submitted a Profiles in Courage essay to the JFK Presidential Library Essay Contest. We were required to select a political figure from 1917 or later who displayed an act of political courage. For my essay, I chose Senator Dianne Feinstein. As senator, she helped write the assault weapon ban of 1994. This act won passage of a landmark 10-year ban on the manufacture and sale of military-style assault weapons. This took some political courage because Southern and Western Democrats suffered severe criticism for the act. A final act of political courage Feinstein participated in was protecting marriage equality in 2022. Feinstein authored the Senate version of Respect for Marriage Act, a bill to repeal the Defense of Marriage Act discrimination. The bill passed both chambers of Congress in November 2022 and was signed into law by President Biden on December 13, 2022. Also, Feinstein was one of 14 senators who voted against the Defense of Marriage Act in 1996, which defined marriage as between a man and a woman at a time when the issue was not as prevalent as it is today. Using that project as motivation, the students in Leadership 2 created their civic projects. We were tasked with selecting an issue important to us and taking some civic action. I chose to address the issue of sexual assault on college campuses. My classmate Addison Sofer and I are collecting signatures to urge our federal representatives to increase funding for awareness campaigns to address the issue. We hope to send hundreds of signatures to their offices.
That concludes our overview of the School and Community Leadership Program. We hope it gave you some insight on our and our peers' work. The Cougar Talks program will begin shortly. Thank you.
When I was 13 years old, the most tragic thing that could happen to a 13-year-old happened to me. My eyebrow fell off. You're probably wondering how this happened, and to be honest, I still am too, but I'll summarize the tragedy for you. It was a stormy July afternoon at Camp Walden, the summer camp I've spent the last 10 summers at. At camp, we have this tradition called the Donald Day, where basically everyone dances outside in the rain while they play music over the loudspeakers. Me and my camp friends were taking part in this invaluable camp tradition when my best friend Taylor had a genius idea. Taylor said we should make a Musical.ly transition by throwing a gargantuan rainbow ball that we had won from Six Flags at the camera. I squealed with excitement. This would look so good on my feed when I got home and uploaded it. So I pressed record. Taylor then mustered up all of her strength and chucked the ball at my face. But I kind of forgot to move the camera away from my face. Here, just watch what happened because I was videoing it. Ouch is right. Before I knew it, I had a giant lacerate above my eyebrow. Blood was dripping from my forehead to my neck. I ran to get my counselor, Emma, and we rushed to the infirmary. I was praying that I would get stitches and have a normal face. Fast forward, I did not get stitches. Instead, the camp nurse put crazy glue on the cut, which was directly above my eyebrow. Yeah. A week had passed, and everything seemed to be healing nicely. That was until I woke up and saw my eyebrow on my pillow. The medical glue had essentially waxed my face, leaving me bald and unsymmetrical. I was devastated about my look. There was no way I was going to take on the world like this. So I took a brown magic marker and drew in where my eyebrow used to be. Life went on, and I entered the 8th grade with 1.5 eyebrows. Each day I would draw in less and less hair, but you'd never catch me with a wonky-looking eyebrow because I was too nervous to deal with any follow-up questions. And then by February of 2020, my eyebrow had fully grown back. I was so excited to flaunt my new facial hair, and then 3 weeks later, the obvious happened, and I was locked away for no one to see. During the pandemic, I realized something that I had spent so much time focusing on became so insignificant so fast. This entire situation was absolutely absurd. I mean, how on earth could I even explain to people that my eyebrow fell off because my friend threw a ball at my face? The only thing I could really do was laugh about it. A few months later, that summer, my camp friends and I were sitting on the beach talking about life pre-COVID and all the crazy things that had happened in the last few months. It was during this exact conversation that I realized life is inherently absurd, and the more we think about it, the weirder it gets. From the moment we are born, we are thrust into a world filled with uncertainties, contradictions, and unexpected turns. It's so easy to become overwhelmed by all the garbage that inundates our everyday lives. Instead of getting so consumed by all this, what if instead of resisting this chaos, I learned to dance with it? Okay, not literally dance, because if you see me dance, you know that's not pretty. Anyways, in reflecting on this devastating experience, I've come to learn the importance of humor in the face of life's absurdities. Get it? Face? Anyways, I lost my eyebrow, and from that experience, I want to tell you that sometimes we just need to chill out. Life can be dark, scary, and serious, but the good times can always outweigh the bad if we try hard enough. It's important to surround yourself with laughter and find things that make you genuinely happy. For me, that means seeing my camp friends every weekend possible, following Justin Bieber around the world, even in Italy, exercising, and reading. Master the art of not taking life too seriously and finding humor in the most absurd of situations. So, I recommend you give it a shave and see what everyone thinks. Thank you.
Odds. The probability that one thing will happen over another. Odds are created to give people an idea of what is most likely to happen. For instance, if me and LeBron James were to 1v1 in a game of basketball, odds are he would win. Probably some very good odds. Percentages, they work the same way. If the weather app says there's a 95% chance of rain at 8 p.m., it is expected that at 8 o'clock that night, rain would be covering the sky. Many blindly believe these odds and percentages without thinking about that 5%. Odds are not science, and percentages are just numbers. And my story can prove that. 5% is so low that to some, it may seem impossible. Many would give up with only that little percentage of a chance in any challenge they faced. I was born on August 23rd, 2006, with only 5% of a diaphragm. Yes, that's right, only 5%. For those of you in the crowd that don't know what a diaphragm is a very important muscle in the respiratory system. Without one, breathing is nearly impossible. As soon as I was born, doctors quickly took me away before my mom could even lay her eyes on me. Many doctors did not believe I would survive the night, and definitely not days to come. With such little doubt in the medical field's mind, it would have been easy for my family to give up on me, but they never did. My mom, dad, sisters, and brother showed up day in and day out with confidence that I would survive. My family's confidence, positive attitudes, and belief laid the foundation for how I live my life every day. Finally, after a month in the hospital, I was able to return home with my family. I was lucky to be living and at home, but was held under some very strict conditions. I had to be monitored by a home health nurse, fed with a feeding tube, and I couldn't attend preschool with other kids because it was unsafe for me. But the worst, and I mean worst, of all these conditions was I wasn't allowed to play sports. But coming from a Division I head coaching father and a family of high-level basketball players, staying on the sidelines was never in the cards for me. My earliest memories are on the sidelines of basketball games, watching my dad coach his teams or cheering on my brother and sisters at all of their games, just dreaming of making big plays on those same courts. I remember every time one of my dad's players at LIU would dunk, I would jump out of my seat with excitement. I remember watching my older sister Victoria score 20 points on her senior night, and watching my big brother James score 27 points against Locust Valley, leading Belmore JFK to the playoffs. I even won fan of the game at Jam the Gym when I was only 7 years old. The love and excitement I had towards basketball and the goals of being better than my older brother and older siblings made it impossible to get me out of the gym. Oh, and for the record, James's highest scoring game was 27, mine's currently 38. James averaged 18 points per game, I'm currently averaging 23. Gotcha, James. I've always felt the same way about basketball. It is the only thing I could always rely on. I couldn't control the issues going on inside of me. Whenever I took a dribble, the ball always came back, and whenever I took a shot, there was always a rebound. The older I got, the more I played. I was never the fastest, strongest, or tallest on any of my teams, but my energy and passion for the game of basketball spread on every team I played on and will continue to play on. I haven't stopped breathing, and I won't stop dribbling anytime soon. Having only 5% of a diaphragm may seem like a curse to some, but to me, it is my greatest gift. It has taught me to believe in myself, treat every day like it's my last, and step into every situation with full confidence in myself. So next time the odds are not in your favor, keep pushing. Miracles can happen in any situation. Thank you.
Every year after Christmas, my family and I go skiing. We used to fly out to Utah, but for the past 4 years, we've made the drive to Vermont. Last year, I was out on Okemo Mountain. It was probably our sixth run of the day, and we were all so tired. My brother, sister, aunt, cousin, and I were at the summit, about to make our long journey back down to the base. As we begin to ski, I stay in the back to ensure everyone stays together. But my brother turns the wrong way and becomes separated from the rest of us. As I mutter a handful of fruitful words that I cannot repeat on this stage, I follow him down the path that he chose. When I caught up with him, we began to search for my aunt. As I am frantically calling her, we are weaving in and out of other skiers. I did not want her to become worried about the absence of me and my brother. Going around this larger crowd, zooming past, we come to a complete halt as I hear, "Age!" being yelled at from behind me in this tiny voice. The disbelief that I had. Who in the world is calling my nickname out of all things on a mountain in the middle of Vermont? Between my goggles, hat, ski pants, and jacket, I am unrecognizable, so I believed. I turn around and I see my youngest cousin and uncle making their way down to us. At this point, I am hysterically laughing, and my brother is sighing in relief because we're no longer lost. I asked my 5-year-old cousin how he knew the figure skiing down the mountain was me. I was expecting a reply with some sort of elaborate plot, but pulling down his gaiter, he tells me, "I saw your hair." Out of the entire population, only 1 to 2% of people have red hair. That being said, I'm pretty special. Hi, my name is Adriana Califano. I'm 5'5", I play lacrosse, and I have red hair. The first thing people usually ask me is if I'm Irish. I always reply with yes, but that I'm primarily Italian. My favorite part is watching their jaws drop. A lot of people can also identify me by my hair. My favorite is when my friends are meeting me in a crowded place and they cannot find me. I'm usually on the phone with them, trying to verbally navigate them to where I am, but they always interrupt me and say, "Wait, I see your hair," and then abruptly hang up the phone. My hair makes me unique physically, but to me, it means so much more. I may own this absolutely fabulous look right now, but I can guarantee you I haven't always. I used to be embarrassed by the curls. All of my friends had pin straight hair, so why couldn't I? My hair used to be in the most slicked back, tightly wrung ponytail any of you have ever seen. I didn't know how to love or care for my curls, and honestly, I didn't want to. I dreamed of the day that I could have hair like the people around me. I'd wear it straightened to the point where one day, during freshman year, I wore it curly, and people came up to me astonished. The way I was feeling, though, is not uncommon. Many people struggle with accepting certain aspects about themselves, but their hair is the most noticeable. Many people curl, straighten, dye, and resent their hair. I was the same way until I learned that my hair makes me unique. I learned to manage the curls by testing out different products and curling techniques. In case any of you were wondering, I use 3 products to diffuse my hair every other day and wrap it in a bonnet when I sleep. I learned to love and care for my curls, and now embrace them. The journey of high school is anything but easy, between changing friendships, rigorous classes, and the twists and turns life has to offer. However, the most important lesson that I learned was not in the classroom. Thank you to my dear friend, Sophia Leone, for giving me this quote, which perfectly verbalizes this idea. But the most important takeaway that I have from these past 4 years is that comparison is the thief of happiness. It is essential to live the way that you want to and not worry about what anyone else thinks about you. Growing into my skin and embracing my uniqueness was not a journey about hair, but about finding my true self. As young people, we are bombarded with images of what normal and attractive are, and it is easy to fall into the trap of wanting to fit in. We try to fit ourselves into this cookie-cutter mold of what the perfect friend or student is, but it is so important to acknowledge that we each have our own sparkle, which differentiates ourselves from everyone else. Living comfortably in your skin is what matters most. Now, I embrace my curls. They have become my staple look and the most significant representation of my personality. I stopped comparing myself to everyone's dyed, perfectly pinned straight hair and found happiness within the bouncy, bright red poof that I call my hair. Thank you.
I could be standing in the inside of a ring of fire right now, and I'd be fine with that. I could be stuck in a corn maze with no way out, and I'd be fine with that. I could be at home rewriting my college essay for the 7th time, and I'd be fine with that. I could be stranded on an island in the middle of the ocean, and I'd be fine with that. But instead, I'm not in any of those places. I'm standing here on a stage talking to all of you, the very last place I want to be. When I was in 3rd grade, I had to choose and present a country to the entirety of 3rd grade, as well as their parents. While some things have changed, one thing has definitely stayed the same. I am terrified of public speaking. I stood in front of all the parents and students and introduced myself, but it only went downhill from there. Each time I tried to get a sentence out, I couldn't speak without giggling. Fast forward, 11 years later, my fear of public speaking has persisted. And here I am, the very last place I want to be. When I was born, my parents still constantly remind me, to this day, how loud of a newborn I was. Not that I can attest to this, but supposedly I was screaming and crying so loud you could hear me from down the hallway. My brother was a pleasure. He was so quiet, you could forget he was there. As time began to change, so did we. When we were younger, my family liked to call my brother the mayor of Merrick. I, on the other hand, was just known as Derek's older sister. I was the type of kid who would hide behind my mom's legs while my brother would talk to anyone who would listen. I was afraid of the unknown. What would happen if I interacted with people I was unfamiliar with? The fact that I didn't have a definite answer to that question only contributed to my hesitation of being outgoing. Now let's go back to Leadership 2 and revisit the leadership portfolio. One part of the portfolio was to speak at a podium. My task appeared simple. Walk up to the podium on this stage and answer if I was a morning person or a night person. Hi, my name is Skylar Weiss, and I'm a night person. Although we were in the auditorium, it was only the leadership students in there, all people that I've regularly spoken to. I began to walk up to the stage, I placed my paper down, I looked out at my classmates, and all I could do was laugh. It was as if I was an 8-year-old girl presenting France to the 3rd graders and their parents again. In my mind, it was only a matter of time until something happened when I was speaking in front of a group of people. When I was in 6th grade, one day I woke up and I randomly started limping with pain in my right ankle. About a week later, I went to urgent care and they told me it was growing pains. Growing pains, with growing comes pain, I guess. It turns out it wasn't growing pains. It turns out I had juvenile arthritis. Do you want to know what's growing pains? This. This is growing pains. Standing here in this auditorium where a little less than a year ago, I laughed my way through a simple statement in front of my classmates. But I'm a girl with a lot to say, so I should say it, right? But this is a part of growing, I guess. Doing this right here, right now, in the very last place I want to be. Thank you.
This is Alex Lederman. He's 5'10" and 172 pounds. On weekends, he likes to go to the gym and watch the Ohio State football games.
This is Noah Zinman. He's 6'2" and 160 pounds. On weekends, he likes to play hockey and go fishing with his dad and his brother. Also, he's never joined a gym.
Yep, he's not lying. The only weights I've ever lifted is taking the groceries from my mom's car into the house, which, sorry, Ma, but it's not that often.
I've never caught a fish. I've eaten tuna fish. Fishing, though? No. You can find me watching college football every Saturday. More specifically, my favorite team, the Ohio State. Every Saturday in the fall, you can find me watching the team in scarlet and gray. Some may find it weird, but my dad wears the same outfit every game day. An Ohio State t-shirt, sweatshirt, jeans, and shoes every game day. Oh, and he also wears an Ohio State pendant on his necklace too. I love the Ohio State so much that I cried last year when they lost to Michigan. As a 16-year-old kid and a junior in high school, I cried because a college football team lost. My family loves football. More specifically, we love Ohio State football. My dad went to college there, and he passed his love onto me and my brother Harrison. We even hooked my mom, an Albany alum, and my grandma, who just might be the craziest of us all. Love you, Natty.
So yeah, don't text Alex on a Saturday afternoon. He's too busy worshiping some college football team. As for my Saturdays, you'll probably find me in New Jersey or Pennsylvania with my travel hockey team. I started playing hockey when I was just 3 years old. At 5, I played at Newbridge in the developmental program, and I was progressing very quickly. I naturally fell in love with the sport. 2 years later, I started playing travel hockey out of Caniac Park with the Nassau County Lions. During my time at MAMS, I played for the middle school, and soon enough, high school came, and I've been playing for the district for the last 4 years. Throughout this journey, I've met many teammates who became close friends, and coaches who have guided me to become the man I am today. I've learned countless invaluable lessons and developed important life skills to the point where only Yoda could teach me more. I'm thankful for the sport, and it is what makes me most happy.
I'll admit, I like watching hockey, but the idea of traveling across the East Coast to play it is not something I generally find time for. What I do find time for is the gym. The gym is a happy place for many, and this holds true for me. It all started about a year and a half ago as a bored teenager looking to kill some time, get stronger, and gain an advantage over my peers in sports. I signed up for the first time scared and weak. That all changed as I found a place for me to clear my head while also improving myself physically. For an hour and a half a day, I could put aside all the stresses of a high school kid living in today's society and focus on the task ahead. There's just something about those heavy circles that have you coming back. It allowed me to meet new people with similar interests and gave me an extra easy conversation topic. I began to research more and more and learn more and more about myself and how to treat my body, making sure I'm eating right, staying on schedule, and more. It taught me discipline, hard work, and perseverance. I began to go 6 days a week and to make sure I always had time for it. But most importantly, it made me happy.
Listen, I won't lie to you. I don't go to the gym. Lifting weights and following some regimen isn't something I find too appealing. What I do find appealing is fishing. On the days I go fishing, I wake up at 6 in the morning and take the boat out with my dad and brother as the sun rises over us. As we soar through the glassy water and listen to soothing music, we give the mandatory head nod to every other fisherman we see. Once we finally arrive at the spot, we cast our rods out over and over and over again. And if we don't get a bite, it's okay, so we'll cast our rods out even more. Fishing has taught me patience, and I can stay out there for hours. We stay up to 5 hours on the water, and the rewarding feeling of finally catching that fish brings me so much happiness. Moments like that are what I live for.
So yeah, you won't find me up at 6 a.m. in the morning to catch fish, but Noah loves it, and that's okay.
Alex and I are best friends, but the things that he enjoys, the things that bring him happiness, don't necessarily bring me happiness.
Happiness is like a fingerprint, unique to each of us. For some, it's lifting heavy weights in different ways and watching a bunch of college kids throw around a pigskin.
For others, it's the joy of finally pulling up that striper or scoring the overtime winner.
It's not about what should make us happy, but what actually does. It's about embracing your own kind of joy, whether it's loud and messy or quiet and organized.
Remember, there's no one-size-fits-all for happiness. It's as diverse as we all are, and that's what makes life so incredibly exciting.
So go out there, find your happiness, and own it.
Because your happiness is just that, yours.
It's yours.
It's yours. Let's go, baby. Good job.
I'm going to dive straight into the world of being the least best because, let's face it, mediocrity is severely underrated. Now, I'm going to talk about how being the underdog in a tennis match or bombing a test can be the secret sauce to personal growth, all while keeping humor levels higher than my many failed attempts at parallel parking. Mom and Dad, stop looking. Anyways, imagine you step onto the tennis court filled with enthusiasm and a racket your favorite pro player uses that you begged your mom to get you for Hanukkah. You're about to face a player who could volley in their sleep and crush you 6-0, 6-0. But rather be intimidated, look at it differently. Your lack of tennis prowess is your superpower. After missing 5 70-mile-per-hour shots over the net, you finally rally one back. You did it. Small win, you're leveling up. Now, let me shift gears and take you away to the classroom, a place where nightmares of pop quizzes and confusing equations come to life. Picture this. You confidently entering an exam only to realize you may not have done as well as you intended. Embracing the realization that I wasn't the best student in the room, I became the one who did the worst, but tried the hardest. While others succumbed to frustration, I navigated through unfamiliar equations and concepts with a determined spirit. My ability to turn a potential academic disaster into a learning opportunity did not go unnoticed. I eventually got that A. In the bigger picture, being the worst at something became a catalyst for improvement. The tennis court and classroom became areas of growth where setbacks were stepping stones on the pathway to success. Each missed shot and misguided study session became a chance to refine my skills and broaden my knowledge. In time, that 12-year-old little girl being crushed by 16-year-olds on the tennis court went on to start as our school's first freshman varsity singles player and just finished her senior season as team captain who competed in the All-Counties tournament. I transformed from the weakest to someone who could dominate, proving that being the worst at something is merely a starting point on the path to becoming your best. Like my favorite basketball player, Steph Curry, said, "If you don't fall, how are you going to know what getting up is like?" Well, hi, I'm Tara Brown, and getting up feels awesome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dylan Cutler, and I am 17 years old. Yes, 17 years old. That magical age where society expects me to make career-defining decisions, but I need permission to go to the bathroom first. I was born on May 1st, 2006. In 2006, most of you were on your first or second job with 1 or 2 kids and a house with mortgage and bills. In my 17 years of life, I've learned a lot. 1, the French and Indian War was not actually between the French and the Indians. 2, Ms. Rochford better not receive an essay without a clear thesis. And 3, do not show up to gym class wearing Uggs. Okay, I'm only joking, though I'm kind of serious about the Uggs part. In my time here at Kennedy, I feel that I've learned a lot. But tonight, I'm here to talk about life lessons. I know that's pretty ambitious coming from a kid who spent less time on this earth than The Simpsons was on air. The life lessons I want to focus on tonight are 3. 1, be present. 2, be confident. And 3, be resilient. 1, be resilient. Oh, nope. Yeah, be present. I've been fortunate enough in my life to not experience much death in my family. However, I do know that this fact is inevitable. In the past few years, I've had to come to terms with 2 major deaths in my life. 1, my grandfather, whom I called Peep, and 2, my family dog, Max. The single most important lesson I have learned in my life is to live in the present, and this I've learned particularly through Max. Max had been my constant companion since I was a young kid. Every single day, I would spend countless hours with him. However, as I grew older and busier, my time with Max had dwindled from hours to minutes to some days where I wouldn't even acknowledge him. Oh, wait, yeah. I wouldn't even acknowledge him. I never intended to neglect him. It was that life got difficult. Life got busy between sports, social activities, and maintaining good grades. I guess I believed he'd be there forever. But when he passed, everything had changed. Oh, shit. Sorry. I guess I believed he'd be there forever, but when he passed, everything changed. I actually been like, I was a young kid. Here I am, as a 17-year-old high school senior. Here I am, 17-year-old high school senior, telling you to live life in the present. Cherish every moment. Spend that extra hour with your friends, because ultimately, it's not the bad times that you remember, it's the good ones that you remember and hold dear forever. 2, be confident. The next life lesson is about self-confidence and embracing who we are. My journey with this lesson began as a young kid, surrounded by sports, with soccer being my absolute favorite. Yeah, that's me playing soccer. With soccer being my absolute favorite. On the soccer field, I felt at home, confident, and alive. But, as we all know, COVID hit, messing up everything, including my sports life. The days in quarantine were long and boring. My once active social life was reduced to voice chats with my friends over Fortnite. That adrenaline and confidence I once felt in the field felt like a distant memory. When high school finally started, I was eager to return to the soccer field. But, as luck would have it, COVID had other plans. My sports schedule was in disarray, and just when soccer season began, I was quarantined once again due to a COVID exposure. During this time, doubts crept in. I questioned my abilities, my place in the team, and even my love for the sport. When tryouts finally started, I was completely off my game. Not just physically, but mentally too. After tryouts, I was given an option by my coach, either play junior varsity with guaranteed playing time or varsity with uncertain playing time. After much thought, I chose junior varsity, as I interpreted my coach's words about uncertain playing time as a lack of faith in my abilities. That season in JV turned out to be incredible. I made great friends, we were very successful, and I even got pulled up to varsity for playoffs. But it was at the end of the year soccer dinner when I had a realization. My coach had mentioned in his speech that he wished I had chosen varsity. And in that exact moment, I realized the mistake I had made. It wasn't my coach who doubted me, it was my own lack of self-confidence. This experience taught me an invaluable lesson. Confidence isn't just about believing in your skills. It's about responding to challenges, handling pressure, and making decisions. Without confidence, we limit ourselves and our potential. 3, be resilient. Many of you might not know this about me, but I'm an avid snowboarder. The rush of speeding down the mountain while performing jumps and tricks in the park, it's truly thrilling. But, like in many aspects of life, it comes with its challenges, particularly falling, and trust me, falling hard. When I'm on my snowboard, it's as if I'm in another world, flying down slopes, feeling unstoppable, yet all it takes is a small unseen obstacle like a rock or a divot to send me flying. I've always been fiercely competitive, even in the smallest things. This competitiveness extends to competing with myself. I've always had the mindset that I could always be more, stronger, smarter, or better. This mindset made every stumble, whether in life or on the mountain, a battle within myself. But here's the thing. No matter how many times I fell, whether in my life or my academic endeavors, I always got back up. Resilience, that's the key. It's about bouncing back from setbacks, learning from them, and moving forward. It's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, as Rocky Balboa famously once said. So, here I am, Dylan Cutler, your average 17-year-old philosopher, dishing out life lessons. Remember, life's a wild ride. It's unpredictable. Have fun, laugh, and don't forget, never show up to gym class wearing Uggs. Thank you.
Dude,
Picture this. It's 2010, and my mom manages to score tickets to Taylor Swift's Fearless Tour concert on back-to-back nights. I vividly remember watching the first show and seeing a little girl right across from my section get picked up by Taylor. I went home complaining that it wasn't fair because it hadn't happened to me, as any kid would. I then returned the next night hoping that I would be the one that Taylor picked up so I can have this special moment with her. My mom told me not to give my hopes up, but that it was very, very unlikely to happen. I was having a blast at the concert when Taylor came off the stage. I assumed it was an outfit change, so I was confused when a huge spotlight lit up to my left. Taylor began singing and walked down my aisle. A group of teenagers allowed me and my mom to pass by them to get a better view. I reached my arms out and Taylor stopped in front of me. She picked me up and said thank you for coming to my concert, all while giving me a hug and a bracelet from her wrist. At that moment, I became a lifelong Swiftie. I would go on to tell everyone, and I mean everyone that I knew, about my unique interaction with Taylor and how she was my favorite artist. As a Swiftie, my love for her music goes beyond being just a casual fan. It's a defining aspect of my identity and a source of inspiration. I find solace in her lyrics, which often resonate with me, and little did I know that this encounter would shape my journey through school and mold me to become the person I am today. As a student navigating a rigorous schedule, I discovered that Taylor's music offered more than an escape. It became my guiding force. Her story of success through persistent effort and commitment resonated with me, inspiring me to approach my studies with a similar work ethic. For me, adaptability is not merely a desirable trait, but a survival skill, and Taylor's career exemplifies this very well. From her country roots to conquering the pop scene to even the alternative genre, her ability to reinvent herself mirrors the constant changes I have encountered in school. Courses change, study methods evolve, and challenges arise, but like Taylor, I thrive by embracing this change. My freshman year to sophomore year was a big jump. I went from taking 0 AP courses to 3 AP courses, which for a 15-year-old was a lot, and I was not expecting this to take such a heavy toll on my mental health. On top of my rigorous schedule, I had to balance all of my extracurriculars, including 3 varsity sports. I pulled countless all-nighters, lacking the proper amount of sleep. I was like a zombie. However, I created a plan. I would work with my teachers to help me thrive ultimately making my junior year relatively easy. Taylor's rise to fame wasn't handed to her on a silver platter, and I guess the same could be said for my academic journey. Between the late-night study sessions and the challenging exams, they all mirror the dedication that Taylor has poured into her music. Her story has taught me that success is often the product of hard work. So, when faced with a tough assignment, I remind myself of the hours Taylor spent perfecting her lyrics in order to tackle academic challenges head-on. Now, let's talk about research, a pursuit that has consumed much of my life. About 2 months ago, I submitted my research that I had been working on for almost 3 years to a very prestigious competition. And actually, today, I was announced as one of the top 300 scholars across the nation to be named semifinalist. In order to do this, I spent hours going back and forth between revising my paper with my mentor to filling out a 70-page application with what felt like a million essays. I had many sleepless nights and used all of my off periods as well as several class periods and many, many hours after school to meet the deadlines. With all of this, I used Taylor's music as a comforting soundtrack, leading me to have almost 2,500 plays on just one of her albums in the last year. Just as Taylor transforms her experiences into lyrical masterpieces, I adopt a similar approach with my research. I approach it with passion. Being a Swiftie has been more than just enjoying the catchy tunes. It's been a journey of self-discovery intertwined with life lessons. I take inspiration from Taylor's ability to evolve, work tirelessly, and stay dedicated to her passion, making this Swiftie experience an integral part of my life. Thank you.
I have a secret for all of you. As many of you might know, I'm a filmmaker, and it's something I'm deeply passionate about. But today I want to take a little detour, talk about something else, something that not too many of you are aware of. My secret love for jazz. Okay, I know, you were all expecting my talk to be about film or my osteoporosis diagnosis, But I am so much more than a guy with a movie camera and brittle bones. Okay, I am a guy with a movie camera, brittle bones, and a passion for jazz. Now, among the many legends in the jazz world, one figure stands tall in my heart. The incomparable Duke Ellington. Duke's compositions, with their sophisticated melodies and complex harmonies, have always felt special to me. His ability to tell stories through music, creating his own worlds, is nothing short of genius. And today, I want to take you on a journey into my own personal connection with jazz. I've always loved the saxophone. Ever since I was a little boy, I was aware it meant something important to my family. My dad was a really talented saxophonist when he was my age. Shout out to you, Dad. And his father before that. Shout out to you, Pop. Now, my fascination with jazz also goes beyond just being a listener. I'm not sure if anyone from South Belmore remembers, but I used to actually play the alto saxophone in band class way back in elementary school. But what you might not know is how I never stopped. In fact, I brought my saxophone with me today. Guys, I've been practicing for weeks. I was really excited to show you guys like my hidden talent, but I am low-key terrified now because this is like my first time I'm going to be playing in front of people who are not my immediate family. So please do not judge me. I'm terrified. Okay, I really don't get nervous too often, but okay. You ready to hear some jazz? Oh yeah! Yeah! Okay. And that was Mary Had a Little Lamb. Okay, now before you start questioning my authenticity as a jazz enthusiast, let me explain to you what just happened. The short answer, I made up the entire story. But the longer explanation, I want to explore a concept that is present in our daily lives, often without us even realizing it. Manipulation. The word itself might raise a few eyebrows. But what if I told you that manipulation isn't inherently negative? In fact, we engage in it every day. So let's start by defining manipulation. It's the act of skillfully influencing or controlling someone or something. Now, think about it. From the moment we wake up, we navigate a world of social interaction where every word, every gesture is subtly adjusted based on our perception of how others may react. I mean, have you ever stopped to think about the way we emphasize certain words or phrases in a conversation? Because I have. As a matter of fact, we had a whole lesson in leadership class on how emphasis changes meaning in preparation for these talks. It's a form of manipulation. We mold our language to influence how others perceive our thoughts. And perception is reality. The way we present ourselves, the choices we make in our words and our actions, they all contribute to the perception others have of us. Is that manipulation? Yeah, absolutely. But it's not a sinister act. It's a fundamental aspect of human interaction. Now, think about it. Even our self-expression involves manipulation. We tailor our stories, emphasis on certain details and maybe downplaying some others to kind of create this narrative that aligns with the image we want to project. Like how I wanted all of you to think I was a skilled jazz musician. Okay. It's a creative act. It's a form of storytelling we all perform in our daily lives. Speaking of storytelling, imagine watching a movie without manipulation. Oh, big surprise. Preston talk about movies. It's like a bland dish without seasoning. Right? You can't watch a movie without manipulation. As a filmmaker, I use manipulation all the time to take my viewers on emotional roller coasters and leave them speechless. okay? It's a necessity. So take cinematography, for example. Through manipulation of lighting, I can set the tone, I can create suspense, or I can convey intimacy. Ooh, sexy. I like that. Nice touch, Steedman. Or what about music? Right? A really well-composed score can take a boring scene of dialogue and turn it into a heart-wrenching moment or a triumphant victory. Right? It's manipulation through sound, enhancing the emotional impact on the visual story. But that's not proof, me telling you here, sitting here explaining these things. There's real proof. So I'm about to make you all feel really inspired. Are you ready to feel inspired? Okay, Tony, Luke, can you please cue the music back there? All right, I wanted to wrap up my talk on an inspiring note. So I figured, why not let the music do the talking, right? I mean, I could be saying anything at this point. And as long as I have this music, you're still gonna be feeling the good vibes. It's like magic. I could be saying my grocery list right now, right? Imagine me going eggs, bread, meat tenderizer, banana. Manipulation's kind of cool, right? I mean, I could say anything and you're still gonna feel good vibes. But let me get back on track. My real mission here was to explain to my mom, and all of you, but let's be real, mostly mom, my mom, that manipulation can be a good thing. In fact, it is a good thing. So if you're feeling inspired right now, pat yourselves on the back, thank this music, thank my well-timed pauses. Wow, who knew convincing my mom could be this easy? If only I'd known sooner, I'd have made her a mixtape instead of this argument. Thank you.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your team.
While most young kids were listening to lullabies before bed, in my house, you went to bed listening to the Mets' inaugural song. That was the first song that every grandchild was taught by my grandfather, and pretty much the first song you sang. For as long as I can remember, I was taught to love the orange and blue. And for anyone who knows what it's like to be a Mets fan, knows I probably would have picked any other team. Besides the Jets, I dodged a bullet there. But more seriously, my family was built on the foundations of being Mets fans. The first time my dad met my grandfather, my mom's dad, he only wanted to know if my dad was a Met or a Yankee fan. My dad proudly responded that he is absolutely 100% a Mets fan. And then the interrogation began. It wasn't enough that my dad said he was a Mets fan. He had to prove that he was a diehard. Who's the longest first baseman for the Mets? Ed Kranepool. Where do the Mets orange and blue colors come from? Giants orange and Dodger blue. And who's the best catcher of all time? Obviously, Mike Piazza. Well, he passed the initiation, and he was in. I have to say, although most families center around food, although true to my family, it really has always been about the Mets. Following my parents' marriage, it was the first time they went out with my grandparents. And you can guess, it was to a Mets game. It was July 31st, 2000 in Shea Stadium. The Mets were playing the Reds, and they were in the fourth inning when legendary Ken Griffey Jr. came up to bat. He hit a foul ball right into section 217, where my dad and grandfather were able to grab it. I still have the ball today, and it is a trophy to the relationship my family has built through this team. In 2015, I lost my grandfather, and I lost the opportunity of continuing sharing the thrill of watching and discussing Mets with him, a pastime he, my father, and I had all enjoyed. However, that same year, the Mets made it to the World Series, providing a glimmer of joy amidst my family's difficulties. And although my grandfather wasn't physically there to share it with us, my whole family came together over this moment, and I really felt it was a sign, something I look for each and every day from my grandfather. To honor my grandfather, every year we go to a Father's Day Mets game. And it was at the last one that I was able to meet some distant cousins of mine for the first time. Although most families meet each other at family reunions, for us, the Citi Field parking lot is more our style. Being a Mets fan has always been an integral part of my life. For my bar mitzvah, I felt my theme had to be Mets. So I had a Vineyard Vines whale wearing a Mets cap, and anytime news breaks, I get 18 notifications, starting with ESPN Newsbreak, and then my dad, cousins, camp friends, home friends, and even while I was at sleepaway camp, and most kids were receiving banknotes about how their pets were doing, I was receiving banknotes about how the Mets were doing. And then 10% about my family's well-being. Although I knew that if the Mets were doing well, they were probably doing well too. One day, I got into trouble when a girl posted a picture of me online watching the game in class. My mom was not happy. But my dad totally understood. I mean, it was the first game of the season. I was obviously going to watch it in my English class. As I head to college, away from home, there are many things I'm going to remember and take with me for the rest of my life. For one, being a Mets fan helps you become more resilient with the ups and the downs in life. And that whenever I'm watching or listening to a Mets game, I'll always have a little piece of family with me. The moral here is let's not take for granted the powerful influence of what we are born into. Whether that's a family tradition or a shared love for a sports team, these elements contribute to your family connection. As I leave you here today, I challenge you to appreciate your inherited history and how it shaped the story of your life. Let's go Mets, put in the books, thank you.
Despite this being a leadership class, for most of my life, I have been nothing more than a follower. Growing up as a somewhat shy and anxious kid, my decisions always heavily revolved around what my peers or parents were doing. I know that we've all been guilty of this at some point or another. Whether it's going to a restaurant you don't really like just because your friends want to go, or buying a product just because Alex Earl sponsored it, we're all followers from time to time. But today, I'm here to share a story with you all when I finally broke out of my shell, and it ended up being one of the greatest decisions I've ever made. I think that it's a no-brainer for most, that when your 6th grade teacher calls you up to their desk and asks you what language you'd like to take next year, the popular answer is Spanish, and with good reason. We learned it in elementary school. My 12-year-old self completely agreed and had every intent to select Spanish as my language of choice. However, when I walked up to my teacher's desk and declared I'd like to take Spanish, she told me I should take Mandarin instead. In my head, I shouted no. As my teacher reminded me, though, we had recently learned about Chinese New Year in class and created paper lanterns to celebrate. My teacher poured black ink into bowls and placed them onto all of our desks. Using the black ink and paintbrushes, we painted Chinese characters onto red paper lanterns. We used stencils and had printed phrases to replicate. Despite being in a class of over 20 students, my teacher noticed how intrigued I was by the project. So she told me that she thinks Mandarin might be the better language alternative. Me, being the follower I was, blindly agreed. After realizing what I had agreed to, I was extremely scared and intimidated. I planned on continuing with Spanish because it felt like the safest option. I had some background knowledge on the language after taking it for so many years. Chinese was a completely different ballpark, and change was dangerous to me. I begged my parents to let me switch my language, but they believed that taking Chinese would eventually be for the best, even if it didn't feel that way right now. As I entered 7th grade, I couldn't shake the feeling of being overwhelmed. A brand new school accompanied by a brand new language. However, when I walked into 7th grade Mandarin, the colorful room filled with 28 other eager students helped to calm my nerves. Between my enthusiastic teacher and the excitement coursing through the room, I began to consider that maybe I did make the right decision. As middle school flew by and I entered high school, Chinese class became my favorite. As I slowly began to understand how to read Chinese characters, it left me with a desire to keep learning. From learning about different Chinese stories and folklore to different festivals and celebrations, it left me with a passion to keep learning. I'd go on to learn how the New Year is celebrated with lion dances versus how the Mid-Autumn Festival is celebrated with mooncakes. I even learned a motivational phrase, jiayo, which literally means add oil, but metaphorically means keep going. I've implemented this phrase into my daily mindset, as I'm reminded to keep going in the face of struggle, and I even wrote my college essay about it. I finally understood why my parents didn't want me to drop the course. So now, as a senior, looking back 5 years later, this seemingly intimidating choice turned out to be one of the greatest decisions I've ever made. I'm now an AP with the ambition to become a Chinese major in college. Besides from learning an incredibly fascinating language, I've learned something debatably more important: the beauty of stepping out of your comfort zone. I would be lying if I said I'm not the same anxious girl who from time to time eats pizza with my friends, even though I really don't like it. Learning Chinese showed me how important it is to step out of your comfort zone. So here's to my 12-year-old self, who chose to learn Mandarin even though it made her extremely nervous. Little did she know that it would leave her with so much more than a language. It could spark a journey filled with unexpected but amazing friendships, challenging but valuable lessons, and if you ask anyone who knows me what my favorite class is, they'll have no difficulty responding. Thank you.
All right, let's have another round of applause for our second group of the night. If you give me just 30 seconds, I do want to take a moment to congratulate them as well. They have worked incredibly hard over the last 7 weeks to a month and a half on not just writing, but rewriting, developing, and memorizing them. They have collaborated with each other. They've helped each other get to this point. It is a credit to them. I want to thank our school administration for their support of this program, our department chairperson, Mrs. Donaldson, my colleagues in the leadership program, Mr. Ryan and Mrs. Negron as well for their support, and of course, families, friends, as well as Kennedy students here tonight. You did it. It's done. Congratulations. Thank you all for coming.